So fiber is the fixed broadband asset of the future. That doesn't mean that we have to discard the copper network completely. So we're obviously not going to have full copper networks anymore. It doesn't make sense to keep the copper from the central office to the home. But we will still use part of that copper network to offer gigabit speeds, because fiber to the home is just too expensive and takes too long. There's definitely still a role to play for copper networks, especially for the last 100 meters. If you think about buildings, for example, apartment buildings, multi-dwelling units, where you have multiple apartments in one building, multiple owners, it's very hard to get an agreement to pull fiber inside that building. But because there's already copper inside the building, you can actually run fiber to the basement and leverage that asset to offer gigabit speeds without having to roll out fiber throughout the building. So with the NBN FTTC network, NBN was able to roll out high-speed broadband services to a footprint and offer 100 megabits per second more consistently. So by running fiber to the pit and using the less than 200 meters of copper, they were able to connect a lot of end users much more quickly. So the end users of the FTTC network are actually the most happy customers of all technologies NBN rolled out. Mainly because they don't need to dig up any driveways, so there's no damage to the property. They can install the service themselves, so they don't need to wait for a technician, and there's more guaranteed speeds and a more broadly offering of 100 megabits per second. One of the main challenges of connecting MDUs is actually agreeing to enter the building. So there's a lot of building owners that would charge to enter the building or just wouldn't allow it. But additionally, power is actually a challenge as well. You might think that in buildings there's power available, but it's actually not easily accessible for communication equipment. If it's a standard plug, then a cleaner might actually unplug it, which disrupts the service. There might not be a communication room, so there needs to be some kind of security put in place. So it's actually quite difficult to get power in buildings to install equipment in the basement. So 5G is a technology of the future, especially in mobile networks. So we are going to see a lot of change in everyone's lives with 5G. And the first use case for 5G is actually fixed wireless. So because of the extra spectrum, we can now offer fixed broadband services over the same mobile network as we're using our mobile phones. So in areas where fiber is too expensive or where there are no copper or cable assets, 5G can be used to offer gigabit speeds to the home in a much faster way. So Gigabit Access is one of those events where everyone in the industry comes together, and especially in Europe, where we have very different markets, very different challenges, and at a show like Gigabit Access we can share those challenges and we can learn from each other. So as a company, so Netcomm as a company is very happy to attend and is very pleased with the conversations we have to help more broadband users get connected.